सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। There are some clarifications pending, isn't it? We'll take it up and then we'll move on to the text. Oh. Clarification by Vasanti. Hari Om. What is desiring? Please take it up. What is desiring is the clarification, first clarification. A very simple distinction between, in language there are two things. One is a noun, another is a verb. There is the thing called noun, and then there is another thing called a verb. All languages, all human beings, languages reflect your mind. The languages that we create reflects our minds. It's as simple as that. It reflects our minds, our ignorance, our foolishness, our jealousies, our fears, our obsessions. Language always, the language that human beings has literally represents, our language represents what we are. That's all. If you carefully follow. Our language simply represents what we are. Why? Because it's a reflection of our mind. It's a product of the mind. It's a reflection of our mind. That is how it will be. Second, our languages are as false as we are. There is no, if the mind that is creating is false, the language that comes out of it also necessarily will be false only. What is the difference? Are you able to follow? What is the difference between a verb and a noun? A basic grammar class keta, what do we do? Isn't it? Very basic grammar question. Again, it is Vedantic definition of noun and verb. Don't go to the English class of noun and verb. Noun implies something static. Verb implies something that is happening. Again, I repeat. Noun implies something that is static. Verb implies something that is happening. Look at the two statements. I love you, I am loving. Are they the same? Again, I repeat. I love you is one statement. I am loving. What is the difference between the two? When I say I love you, in that word love, there's a certainty. What is the certainty in that word love? That you are loving me now, you will love me in the evening, you will love me tomorrow, forever. Supposing if I say I'm loving you, what does it imply in that I'm loving? Chances are I may not. Chances are I may not love you this evening. Are you able to understand the difference? That's all it is. Language wants to give a static feeling to everything. Like for example, tree. This is a tree. Tree inறது noun. Yeah, correct? Tree inறது noun, isn't it? Luckily, none of my schoolmates are here in this class today. They will laugh at me and say, "Nee nada grammar pati nee pesara," they will say. Because this is something that we always leave it. Grammar is something I always leave it in choice. Especially this English grammar. And I say, nada, it looks so absurd, I will say. Now, if they were to sit and listen, they will laugh at me talking about this noun and verb. When you say a tree implies something is there, fixed, permanent. Supposing if you say the tree is a river. Supposing if you say the tree is a river, can you say the tree is a river? In processes, it is the same. Noun-wise, they are different. In process, both are one and the same. Why? Because the river means that is momentarily changing. The tree means it is momentarily changing. Are you able to follow? From the process level, both are one and the same. From the noun level, obviously, they are not the same. So what do? We create languages. We create words that makes us to understand that there is something called fixed, static, permanent. Are you okay till now? Now come to the question. In the background order, come to the clarification. What is the difference between desire and desiring? It's the same difference like love and loving. It's exactly the same difference as to love and will. Okay. Anxiety, you can say. Huh? Can you say anxiety-ing ஏதாவது word இருக்கா இங்கிலீஷ்ல? Anxiety தான் இருக்குது, isn't it? There is only this word called anxiety. But actually what is happening? It's a process. It's a continuous process. That which is a continuous process, what you should give it as? That which is a continuous process, should you use a noun or you should use a verb? ing போட்டு தான் ஆகணும், isn't it? If something is continuous process, English language ing போட்டு தான் ஆகணும். அந்த ing தான் desiring னு போட்டோம், அவ்வளவுதான். Because desire is not a static phenomena, as in I want this. It appears to be so. It appears to be I want this, I don't want this. It appears to be so static a phenomena that we feel so justified in chasing it. Because we feel so justified in chasing it because the words that we use justifies our chase. The words that we use justifies our foolishness. Now in Vedanta, what we are trying to do? We are trying to change it. How are we trying to change it? By using where all process is involved, use the suffix ing suffix add பண்ணுங்க. Where all process is involved, simply add suffix ing. Is desire a continuous process or desire is something that is static? Desire is a continuous process. Abdina, what you have to say? It doesn't really matter what you desire. You have to be in the process of desiring. Difference purida? What is human ignorance? The human ignorance is not about wanting something as in desire, as in something I want it. It is a continuous state of wanting. It's a continuous process of desiring, irrespective of what you have, you may not have. Are you able to follow? So to bring in the distinction, I use the word desiring, because desiring is a, a continuous process. Continuous process means it keeps ongoing, changing. It means what? By desire, by definition, desiring gives you the clarity that what you want today, you will want something else tomorrow. You will not want the same, what you are wanting today is not the same thing that you'll be wanting tomorrow. Why? Because you are caught in the process called desiring, not to an object or being. You are not caught in a particular desire for an object or being. If you are caught in a desire for a particular object or being, we all would have become wise by now. Because common sense analysis will tell you that it is foolish to desire any object or any being, correct? Common sense analysis will tell you that seeking any particular object or seeking any particular being or seeking any particular event is absurd, foolish. But that doesn't stop the human mind. Why? The language that we use, the words that we use goes on justifying what all we do. That's why in Vedanta, we give a lot of importance to the right words, to the right clarity. And the right words இருக்கிற லாங்குவேஜுக்கு பேர் தான் Sanskrit. The words that are used, the words that are devised so rightly. That's why it's called well-made. Sanskritna, well-made. Even to get a basic clarity on this language, you need 8-10 years. People ask me, sir, Sanskrit padcha scriptures easier puriyuma, sir. I said, what do you mean studying Sanskrit? It will take 8-10 years to study. At the most, you can learn how to read an alphabet, that's all. But you will not know I'm not talking about interpreting level and all. Even to actually understand the meaning is because the language is so well made. When it is so well made means what? The thinking process that goes into the language must be distinct and different. What is the thinking process that goes behind the Sanskrit language? Eliminate the desires, get back to the self. When that process makes you to discover a language, words will be different. When you have a different language saying, chase the desires, try and fulfill them as much as possible. What will be that language? We are not saying it's an inferior language. We are only saying the two minds created two types of languages. And all the languages that we create in the world is what? I'm repeating again. The language that you use is a reflection of your mind. The words that we use is a reflection of our mind. Why? Because our languages reflects our mind. It is not that the language shapes our mind. It is our mind that has created the very language itself, and it is the mind that goes on new inventing, new languages. Why? Because it simply reflects our mind. Desire is not the mind. Desiring is the mind. That's why you can desire murder, you can desire suicide. A person desiring suicide cannot desire murder. A person desiring murder cannot commit suicide. Are you able to follow the difference? See, what is murder and suicide? You have to kill. Murder and suicide comes from one notion. What is it? Kill. Now you have a choice. What? Now you have a choice. What is the choice? Either kill somebody outside or kill yourself. But nevertheless, you got to, nevertheless, you got to kill. Doesn't matter, isn't it? Now, the word that we use always justifies our minds. So, instead of using the word desire, I use the word desiring. Because why do we use nouns at all? That's a deep psychological reason. Why do we use nouns at all? Nouns give us a feeling of control. Nouns give us a feeling of understanding. Nouns give us a feeling of control. Noun makes us to believe something is static. Only if you make something static, you can understand it. Only when you understand it, you can control it, manipulate it, change it, modify it, destroy it. Everything is possible. Supposing if you say, a process implies you have very less control on it, which the human mind doesn't like, because human mind likes to believe. Carefully understand. Human mind likes to believe everything is under its control. Life is going on smoothly, sir. Swami uses the word, no, well settled, isn't it? Life is going on smoothly, sir. Well settled. All these are nouns. Settling. Supposing you want to give your daughter or son in marriage, and if they say, my son is settling down, abdina, you will not want to give your daughter. Isn't it? Supposing if the boy says, well settled, abdina, yeah, that's why in the marriage matrimony thing, I always say, try பண்ணி பாருங்களேன், well settling போட்டு பாருங்க என்ன வருதுன்னு. Because, Shailesh, are you settled or you're still trying to settle? Settling தான், it settled இல்ல, isn't it? ஆனா மேட்ரிமோனியில போடும்போது எப்படி போட வேண்டியிருக்குது? Well settled, isn't it? At least in this classroom, we should have the courage to understand it deeply within ourselves, so that we, now verbs gives you the thing of like the changing clouds. You can never predict anything there. You can never predict. Settled na prediction. Settling na, okay, முதல்ல settle ஆகும் அப்புறம் பார்க்கலாம், they will say, isn't it? First get settled, then we will see. You cannot depend on a cloud form. Why? Because it keeps changing. Sometimes it happens, no? You see a cloud, the child sees it as an elephant. It calls the parents and say, come, come, come. There is an elephant in the sky. Because the cloud appears like elephant. The child sees it. And it brings the parents and shows, yes, see the elephant. What happens? By the time the child brings the parents and look at the cloud, what has happened? Elephant has changed. It has become something else. Will you tell the child you are lying? Will you tell the child, how dare you lie? You should always speak the truth, no? Satyam pesanum, இப்படிலாம் போய். Will you give all that? What do you understand? What do you understand from that? . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . It didn't understand the changing. It didn't understand the dynamism of change. It didn't understand that. Are you able to follow? This is called desiring. Desiring in another. The object of desire is of no consequence. You always believe the object of desire has a meaningful to you. You are desiring something, you say you want something because it is meaningful. Correct? I want this. Why? Because it is meaningful. Vedanta reverses it and says, it is your desiring that it makes it appear meaningful. It is not because of it meaningful you are wanting it. You constantly desiring, therefore something or the other will always looks meaningful in your eyes. Because of this, you can never leave the world. Because of this, a person can never drop the world. Because nobody wants to drop desiring. Everybody wants to change the object of desire. Are you able to follow? Desire use panna, you will be justified in moving from one object to the other object. You follow? Desire, sorry, desiring you will understand that you can't move from one illusion to another illusion. Are you able to follow now? Again, I repeat, desiring the word use panita, you will know that you cannot move from one illusion to another illusion. You will understand that you are moving simply from one illusion to another illusion. What will you want to do? Anything that is a continuous process keeps the anxiety, makes you anxious. You get so anxious. Yeah. That's why even in this classroom, when they develop the arguments to come to an answer, you will say, give the answer first. Say what it is first. Don't go on developing the arguments along. Who wants the arguments? Because who wants your logical development of thought and all? Simply say what it is and be done with it. Why? Because that's how we are. That's how the mind feels stability. It wants something, be done with because it's stable. It's done. Are you able to follow? In Vedanta, they don't do that. They go each and every word. They talk and they each and every akshara, they break it up. And when they break it up, we think, why are they playing with words so much? Why can't they make it? Why can't they make it simple? How do you make everything simple? By converting into a noun. Vedanta complicates everything by converting into a verb. That's the difference. You convert everything into a noun. Are you okay till now? Noun reinforce பண்றதுக்கு we go on adding something to it. இல்லையா? Adjectives மாதிரி. Correct? Adjectives comes to the noun or verb? Noun. Adjective comes to the noun or to the verb? Adjectives எதுக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம்? நவுனுக்கா verb-க்கா? நவுனுக்கு தான் யூஸ் பண்ணணும். That is why we go on using adjectives after adjectives after adjectives. Adjectives use பண்ணி we get so convinced that something is not only it is stable, adjective makes it all the more stable. That's why in clearer thinking they say, முதல்ல stop using adjectives. Stop using words, that is adjectives. This thinking is very, very important if you have to change from the core. You can't expect change at the core continuing the way that you are thinking now. Actions will not bring a change unless you change your very thinking at the core. And how do you change thinking at the core? Each and every class we are doing some analytics, some analysis, some methodology, so that you change at the core. Even if one person changes at the core, the benefit is arrived. Are you able to follow? That's why he said desiring. எல்லாத்துக்குமே ஐஎன்ஜி போட்டுருங்க. ஹார்சிங் ஓடின்னு இருக்குது, isn't it? Horsing, it is எல்லாத்துக்கும், because life doesn't know anything static. Life is constant. Life is constant ing. For what you do for transactional purposes, you have taken it to be real. Certain things we do for transactional purposes, we have to assume certain things as static. For transactional purposes, we assume certain things as static and we do it. But what we have misunderstood is what is done for transactional purposes has been given the status of reality. Just to use two words to so that, hoping somebody will ask a question like this, so that we can say this. This is the difference between desire and desiring. தமிழ்ல சொல்லி பாருங்க. எனக்கு வேணும். என்ன வேணும்? What do you want? No, anything you give. Anything you give, I want. Anything you give, I'll be wanting. Are you able to follow that? Same thing you can say. It doesn't make any difference. இந்த மாதிரி யோசிக்கணும். Are you able to follow? The child says, I want. You ask the child, what do you want? Supposing the child says, no, I just want to know, what will you do to the child? How do you know to handle the child? That's why you are not able to handle your mind. Because now what is saying I want, just putting a full stop there. I want to know full stop whether they are not the child, the mind. That is why you ask the mind, what do you want? It will say this. But last week you said something else. Mind said, don't ask me all these questions. Mind said, don't ask me all these questions. I just want. It doesn't really matter what you give me or what you take away from me. It doesn't make any difference. I will be in a perpetual, eternal state of wanting, desiring. It doesn't really make a difference. Because at some point of time you will want life. At some point in time, another time you want to take the life out. Imagine this conversation with the child. The child says, I want. You ask. Obvious question that you will ask is what? Suppose somebody comes and says, எனக்கு வேணும். என்ன வேணும்? எதுக்கு வேணும்? Isn't it? These are all these appears to be very meaningful questions, isn't it? Are you able to follow? Somebody says, want. For what? Why? All this appears to be very meaningful questions. And the child also gives a reason to that. As an adult, you understand whatsoever reason it gives is fallacious in that. Correct? At least as an adult, you should understand that, no? When your mind says this, you are not able to understand. Your mind says exactly the same thing. Therefore, what is it that you have to understand? Desiring, na idu artham. Desiring means a continuous, unending, vicious, illusory process. போயினே இருக்குது. எதுக்கு போயின்னு இருக்குதுன்னு யாருக்குமே தெரியாது. Are you able to follow? Wanting. What? I have to be I am in the perpetual state of wanting. When you look at yourself like that, what would you want to do? When you look at yourself like that, I'm in a perpetual state of desiring, I'm in a perpetual state of wanting, what would you want to do? You will understand the absurdity of it. This is called vairagya. You'll understand the absurdity of it. Are you able to follow? Opposite of that is what you constantly believe. You know exactly what you want. That's why the topic. No one knows. Nobody knows what they want. And everybody goes back thinking maybe it is true about others in this classroom, sir. But to me, I know exactly what I want. Others in this classroom, maybe they don't know what they want. But to me, I'm very clear. I know what I want. It's okay? This is desiring. Seriya? Yes. Next clarification. Eliminate desire, regain self. First clarification. How going to the temple helps one with the idea that you are preparing for the growth. And it is a preparation for gaining knowledge. What is that knowledge? Did I talk anything about going to the temple as an example? I'm trying to recollect what I said about going to a temple.
Should I play? Somebody asks, but nobody asks how long should I indulge.
Correct. Now I understand. I wasn't talking about going to the temple. I'm talking about, correct. The statement I said is, everybody asks, how long should I pray? But nobody asks, how long should I indulge? How many people always ask, how many minutes should I worship? Nobody asks how many minutes I should indulge. Indulge. You follow? In that context, I gave going to temple as an example. See. What makes a human being not want to discipline oneself, eliminate desires, regain self? What makes a human being not eliminate the desires? What makes a human being not want to be disciplined? The pain of discipline versus the pain of indulgence. Again, repeat. The pain of discipline versus the pain of indulgence. The pain of discipline, nobody wants. To understand indulgence is painful, everybody knows it. And yet the human mind is not able to drop it. Again, it's not that the human being doesn't understand the pain of indulgence, but they are willing to go through the pain of indulgence and not take up to the pain of discipline because of what? In indulgence, at least konjam pleasure irukku first, isn't it? That little bit of pleasure I get justifies the pain. In discipline, there is no pleasure at all. Are you able to follow? It's a formula. Now connected to going to temple. Going to temple, we are not talking about the symbolism of temple and all here. We are not getting into that discussion. Going to temple, how does it help a person to grow? It means any action, how does it help a person to grow? When it is done with the right, when it is done with the right understanding. When it is done with the right understanding, it helps a person to grow. I'm not digressing into temple worship here. I'm not digressing into how temple worship helps a person to grow. I'm not taking that route. If that is the question, we will take it up as a separate question, not in the flow of eliminate desires and regain the self. Are you able to follow? If per se, if we have to discuss that, we will take it up as a separate question, not as a part of, because it was just used as an example there to convey a different point. But nevertheless, it is important to understand how does any activity help you in your growth when it is done with the right bhavana, when it is done with the right understanding. That's all. So how does it help temple worship? In a separate context, we will take it up. Yeah. Next clarification. I said growth is not reduction in effort. Then what is growth? Again, I said growth is not reduction in effort. Then what is growth? When a person says, I want to grow, growth means there will be a time where you can stop doing. Growth means a state that you reach where doing can be, you will have freedom from doing. Are you able to follow again? Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Growth means the mind is believing a time if I have grown means my doing will stop, or my doing will be effortless. Again, I repeat. Either doing will stop or doing will be effortless. Why? Because doing is painful. Doing is always painful. Therefore, the human mind is in a constant quest for avoiding the doing or minimizing the doing. Why? Because doing is painful. And growth seems to be a very good opportunity. Growth seems to be a very good thing that once I have grown, I can stop doing. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya akarmakrit. Verse number 22, 23, chapter 3, he says, from these three worlds, what do you think I am going to get, Arjuna? But still I engage myself tirelessly in action. So what does growth means? Growth is not reducing the effort. Growth means the pain of effort has gone. Again, I repeat. Growth means the effort doesn't stop. What goes out? What goes out? The pain that you associate with effort is gone. That is called growth. So it means the intensity of the effort will not stop. You will have no notion or no experience of any pain. That is called growth. That's why we always say growth doesn't mean your effort is reduced. Growth means effort continues, but what goes out? The pain element in effort goes out. What is the nature of the human mind? The nature of the human mind is to avoid action. And we want to avoid action in two ways. Through science and technology, we want to avoid action. Through the name of spirituality, we want to avoid action. Through science and technology, we avoid action by inventing machines. Through spirituality, through religion, how do we avoid action? Wanting to run away from duties and responsibilities. Either way, the human mind is always averse to action. Now, action, it's a perpetual present. There is no end. The mind wants an end to action. Are you able to follow? The mind wants an end to action. Growth seems to be that end. The growth seems to give you the hope. What is the hope? Action will come to an end. Vedanta comes and says, no, that end is not possible at all, because it's a constant action. Growth means effort doesn't stop. The pain associated with the effort stops. And when we say pain, do we mean physical pain? Do we mean, whenever we talk about pain, do we mean physical pain? No. We always mean the mental pain. What is the mental pain? The mental resistance to action. ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டு பண்ணோம் சார், they will say, isn't it? It means what? The mental resistance to action. You follow? So growth, reduction of effort means, growth doesn't mean reduction of effort. Then what is growth? The joy and willingness and bliss in doing is growth. Again, I repeat, what does growth means? The joy, the bliss, the happiness in doing. Are you able to follow? That is growth. Where do you get the joy and bliss in doing? Only when you have gone through the process rightly. Only when you have done the spiritual courses, spiritual practices rightly. Without doing the spiritual practices rightly, you cannot get to this point. Are you able to follow? That's why the 3 yogas and all we are going to study later. But to answer the clarification, reduction in growth doesn't mean reduction in effort. Conversely, it would be so qualitatively different. Why? Growth means the doing is there, there is no doer. In growth, doing is there, there is no doer. Lack of growth means the doer is so much present and the doer is in the burden of doing, wants to stop the doing. Are you able to follow? In inspired moments where the doer is not present, you want to continue that. You will not want that action to stop. Correct? In inspired moments where the doership isn't there, like the painter, like an artist, or even a scientist. It could be even cooking. It could be even sweeping. It could be anything in life. It's not necessarily only these acts. When you are doing it, the absence of doer makes it effortless, painless. So what brings in pain? The doing doesn't bring in pain. The doership is bringing in the pain. So effortனா என்ன அர்த்தம் இங்க? Effortனா என்ன அர்த்தம்? Doing is there, doership isn't there. Doing continues, doership stops. Are you able to follow? This is what is meant by saying growth. This is what is meant by saying growth. Growth is not reduction of effort. Then what is growth? The pain element that causes, the pain element is gone. What is the pain element? What is the element that causes pain? Doership. Doership, doing minus the doership is growth. Where there is no doership, the same intense effort will continue. That person will feel so relieved and relaxed. Are you able to follow? This is the clarification. Then we'll move on to there's some more clarification is there. The next, what is the next clarification that we have? What exactly is emptiness and what is the nature of emptiness? Clarification. What exactly is emptiness and what is the nature of emptiness? What exactly is emptiness? Emptiness is an intense feeling. Emptiness is a very intense feeling of without something, I can't be peaceful, I can't be secure. Are you able to follow? Emptiness is an intense feeling where without something you can't feel. Without that, security you will not feel secure, you will not feel peaceful. This is called void, emptiness. The human being is so insecure at the core. The very way in which you cling on to shows how insecure you feel. Have you ever seen how the child holds on to? Have you ever observed a 10-month, 1-year-old child grip is very difficult to escape from? Have you ever experienced it? It's not a Muhammad Ali grip. It's a 1-year-old child. Are you able to follow? The grip is so it holds on to the sari so tightly. It holds on to the hand so tightly, isn't it? Mother, isn't it? Have you ever observed this? The child will run to the mother, cling on to the mother, and then look at the danger. Cockroach irukum. It will run to the mother blindfoldedly, cling on to the mother, and then from the safety of the mother, it will look at the cockroach, isn't it? It believes that the safety of the mother takes care of the cockroach. And if the child sees the mother is also equally terrified of the cockroach, what happens? The mother is also equally terrified of the cockroach. What happens? Both of them will have to call the father, isn't it? The father comes to take care of the cockroach. And looking at the cockroach, the father is also terrified. And they have to call the fire service department. The fire service department fellows have to come and take the cockroach. What happened in this sequence? What happened in this sequence? Source of security and disappointment about that source. Source of security and disappointment about that source. Source of security and disappointment about that source of security. Are you able to follow? This continuous cycle, this continuous process is emptiness. I feel so insecure. I want it. And then I get disappointed. I go to the next. Emptiness as in an empty bowl. Emptiness as in an empty bowl. No. Emptiness as in a bucket full of holes. Are you able to understand the difference? Emptiness as in an empty bowl can be filled. Emptiness as in a bucket full of holes. What is a bucket full of holes? As long as it is inside the water in the well, the bucket is full. As soon as you take the bucket out of water, it is as empty as ever. Now the question is, even when the bucket is inside the well, it is still empty only. Are you able to follow? Are you able to follow? What is emptiness? A sense of nothing can make you feel I am full. That is emptiness. That Purnatvam, Paripurnam. Purnamnale full. இல்லையா? அதுக்கு பரின்னு ஒரு இது வேற அட்ஜெக்டிவ் வேற போட்டுக்கிறோம். இல்லையா? பரிபூர்ணம். That sense of Purnatvam, that inability to experience the sense of Purnatvam is emptiness. What is emptiness? Not able to accept, not able to recognize Purnatvam. Out of this emptiness that is connected to the world, the mind believes, because I don't have ABCD things from the world, I am empty, and if I get those ABCD things from the world, I will become full. Are you able to follow? World means anything external other than you, including God, etc. Anything other than you. Are you able to follow? So what the mind believes, because of the few things from the world isn't there, if I get it, I'll be full. And then it gets it. Are you able to follow? What is emptiness? Emptiness is a weakness dependency on numbers. Emptiness means weakness for numbers. More the numbers, greater the security, isn't it? இப்பெல்லாம் பேங்க்ல மினிமம் பேலன்ஸே 4 டிஜிட்டா 5 டிஜிட்டா? மினிமம் பேலன்ஸ் இன் தி பேங்க்ஸ் இஸ் நவடேஸ் 5 டிஜிட்டாவது வைக்கணும் சார், isn't it? மினிமம் பேலன்ஸ் 10,000 rupees ஆவது இருக்கணும். கரெக்ட்? 5 டிஜிட். 6 டிஜிட்னா ஓகே, 7 டிஜிட்னா பாடா கொஞ்சம் டெம்பரரி சார். 8 டிஜிட்னா வாட் இஸ் எம்டினஸ்? A state where a mental state that it always remains a bucket full of holes. It may be inside of it and feel it is full, but then deep down it understands that it is not even half filled. not even quarter filled. The emptiness remains as emptiness means the belief the other can fill it in. Emptiness means something from outside can fill it in. But God கிட்ட நம்பலாம் இல்ல sir? God will come and fill the emptiness, no? God comes and says, I cannot fill your emptiness. Why? In the dark room, in your own room, your white kurta is hanging and you see it as a ghost. In your own room, your own kurta is hanging and you see it as a ghost. When you bring in the light, what goes away? What goes away? The ghost went away. Correct? Huh? Did light murder the ghost? Was ghost scared of the light and ran away? What did light to do? How did light remove the ghost? How did light remove the ghost? By revealing there was no ghost in the first place. Correct? By revealing there was no ghost in the first place. If there was a ghost, why it will get scared of light and run away? Isn't it? Or you may not be able to see the ghost in the light. Maybe at the ultraviolet frequency, isn't it? Infrared frequency, who knows? So, what is emptiness? Emptiness is an imaginary notion. Void, emptiness is imaginary. So what does knowledge do? Knowledge doesn't fill you up. Knowledge doesn't fill you up. Just as the light removed the ghost, knowledge removes the emptiness. The knowledge removes the emptiness. What is emptiness? A sense of intense feeling of nothing is there. Nothing is there for me. Nobody loves me, sir. The boy will come and say, isn't it? The girl comes and says, nobody loves me. Is it true? Is it true or not? It's not true. It's not true. When the person says nobody loves me, that one particular person that I want to love, he's refusing to love, that's all. So emptiness means what? Emptiness means that intense dependent on that one thing is emptiness. The intense dependent on that one thing. And what doesn't matter what that one thing is. Emptiness will remain as always. This is emptiness. What is the attempt you make to fill the emptiness, to fill the void? Thoughts rushes towards the world for acquisition. Thoughts rushes towards the world for acquisition to fill the void, to fill the emptiness. The void is felt inside, object is outside, and the object can never enter you to fill the void. Then what is happening? Have you ever processed this? Have you ever processed this? Object can never enter you. Then where is the fulfillment coming from? The object has not entered you. At least the food has entered you, no? At least the food enters you. The sound enters you. Something enters you. Correct? But what is it that is happening to you that makes you feel that I got it? Again, the thought association. It is mine. Again, the thought association that it is mine. The thought association that says I'm empty without it, and the thought association says I am full with it. Both pertains to the thought. Both pertains to the thought. This is as far as the emptiness is concerned. And this emptiness is what session after session, week after week, we are trying to address this emptiness in us, saying that one way is to fill it in, another way is to understand it is not there. Again, one way is make an attempt to fill the emptiness. Another way is to understand that emptiness isn't there in the first place. Vedanta takes the second method, while everything else takes the first method. Emptiness means you will be wanting an experience. You will want an experience, and that experience makes you feel full. So what is emptiness? Seeking an experience. For without that experience, I am unfull, suffering, void, whatever it is. So emptiness, what is the nature? What does emptiness means? Seeking experiences so that experience can fill in the void. That experience could be anything. It could be a physical experience, it could be an emotional experience, it could be an intellectual experience, but seeking some experience. This is emptiness. Last clarification. What is the nature of emptiness? The definition and nature are one and the same here. There are not two things. When you define emptiness, that's the nature. Nature means qualities, properties, attributes. Are you able to follow? Nature means, what do you mean? Do you mean quality, property, attribute of emptiness? You follow? What do you mean by the nature? What is the word nature means? What is the nature of emptiness? What does the word nature means? How would you use the word nature? In the answer, both are connected. In the answer that is given, both are connected. Or you have to define to us, what do you mean by the word nature? What do you mean by the word nature? Nature means properties, qualities, attributes. That's what you call it as. What is the nature of this glass? When you say what is the nature of this glass means, what are you actually asking? The property of it, the quality of it, that's what it means. So what is the nature of emptiness? Seeking to feeling emptiness, as a result of which you want to go out and always fill it in. Think about it. Both are answered. What is nature and nature of emptiness? Both are answered. Last clarification, Chalo. Desire is defined as dukkha nivritti sukha prapti. Yes, I want to become something, clinging on to, keep complaining. You can hope about, demand, conflict, comparison, competition, double standard, harm. These are all the various ways in which the desire is explained. The list that she is giving is dukkha nivritti, sukha prapti, motivation, wanting to become something, clinging on to, keep complaining. You can hope about, demand, conflict, comparison, competition, double standard, harm. All these are the definitions of desire. Then the question is, what is the nature of desire? Again, the same question. What do you mean by the word nature? If all this is understood, that is the nature of desire. Definition means desire. Sorry, definition means nature. So what is the definition of desire? all that is being discussed here. The problem is when you use a word, you have to define the word within yourself rightly. Or you should tell us what do you mean by the word nature. You follow? Nature means?
Because this is not my question, this is your question. You said what is desire, what is the nature of desire? In the course of explaining, you ask these questions. What is desire? What is the nature of desire? And what is emptiness? And what is the nature of emptiness?
Yes.
So these are your words.
Yes.
So I thought they are two different sentences and they have to be understood distinctly differently.
Correct.
So I just went
in the flow of discussion, you say desire. What is the nature of desire? What are the attributes? How it will manifest? All these are various ways in which methodology of probing is discussed. It is not to actually sit and segregate it like this, as in a flow of conversation, certain things are true. That's all. Definition, desire, all are used interchangeably. Definition of desire, nature of desire, probe into what desire is, all these are used interchangeably. Then why repeat it in so many words? Why can't you just use one word? Isn't it? Then why repeat so many words? Why can't you just use one word? As I said in the beginning, the very wanting, the very knowledge has to be elaborated, thought, discussed in this manner. There is no other way. So, the right way of asking the question is distinguish between definition and nature. The right question should have been distinguish between definition and nature. I would say though that there is no distinction, both are one and the same. Are you able to follow? Distinguish between these two words. No, there is no distinction. Both are one and the same, used very synonymously. Seriya? Any other clarification? No other clarification. அடுத்த டாபிக் படிக்கிறதுக்கு 10 நிமிஷம் ஆகும். The 3 yogas. Eliminate desire, regain the self. It means something you have to do to remove the block. There is a block called desire. So for the block that you have created as desire, you need to do something to remove it. What is it that you have to do to remove it? The 3 yogas. Broadly, the 3 yogas are, we have seen this any number of times. Broadly, the 3 yogas are karma, bhakti, and jnana. Karma is action. Bhakti is the attitude towards your fellow beings and seeing divine everywhere. Again, bhakti is of 2 components. One is attitude towards your fellow beings, towards everything around you. Seeing it as divine is bhakti. Then what is jnanam? Jnanam is the right knowledge. What is the right knowledge? Very, very difficult is to define this word, right? Right knowledge. In action and emotion, you are involved. In knowledge, you are in no way involved. You simply understand it. Again, I repeat. In action and emotion, something of you is there. In knowledge, nothing of you is there. It's a simple understanding of what is there. Are you able to follow? Knowledge means that which reveals it as it is. Knowledge means that which reveals it as it is called knowledge. So Jnana Yoga is that which reveals it as it is. The knowledge of this thing, apple. Take it as an example. Apple. After the knowledge is revealed, something you may do with it. That is separate. But what is knowledge? It is an apple. Maybe you can talk about the physical property, chemical property, the texture, etc., etc., etc. What does a human being come and add to this knowledge? This is an apple. What does a human being add to this? The human being always comes and add, how can I use it? How can I use it? Are you able to follow? One is, this is knowledge. The moment you say, how can I use it, starts action, etc. So, what is knowledge? Knowledge simply reveals it as it is. So, there are three things now. What are the three yogas? Karma, Bhakti, and Jnanam. It's not just karma, it is karma yoga. When you say karma means, what is meant is karma yoga. Bhakti means bhakti yoga. The wrong action that makes you bind to the world, you offset it by right action. That is karma yoga. The wrong type of action that binds you to the world, you set it right by a right type of action. Because that which is caused by action has to be undone by action. So that is called karma yoga. What is bhakti yoga? Changing the quality of the feelings. Changing the quality of the feelings. Because some feelings are inherently disturbing, agitating. Some feelings have a natural quietude about it. Again, I repeat. Some feelings have a natural agitations towards it, and some feelings have a natural sense of poise, calmness, quietude about it. Now, what is that calmness and quietude? The emotions that come out of dependency versus the emotions that come out of seeing divine. This is Bhakti Yoga. Distinct and different from Bhakti is, these two is Jnana. Again, Jnana Yoga is of two types. One is the knowledge of action is one kind of knowledge. What to do, what not to do, how to do, one kind of knowledge. So, knowledge again is of two types. One is the knowledge of action, etc. Distinct and different from that is what is called as Veda Anta. Distinct and different from this knowledge is called Veda Anta. What is that Veda Anta knowledge? Knowing which you know everything. By knowing this, you know everything. Again, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, we will never have problems with the words. In Jnana Yoga only, any word you use will become a problem. In Jnana Yoga only. Because when we say knowing which you know everything, knowing everything doesn't mean knowing as in information and data. Knowing everything means you will not know what all 8 billion people are going to have for breakfast today. Knowing not in that sense. Knowing not in the sense of knowing everything means you will not know what is happening in Mars, what is happening in Pluto, what is happening in neighbor's house, what is happening in somehow. It's not knowing in that sense because we understand knowing is not possible in that sense. And yet, what is knowing? You become all knowing. And yet, knowledge says you become. So, one kind of knowledge is knowledge of an action. Another kind of knowledge says you become the all knowing. In 4th chapter, this is what he calls it as I know the past, I know the present, I know the future. You know only the infinitesimal portion of the present, Arjuna. Infinitesimal portion of the present you know, and you look at the world through that. What is knowledge now? Looking at the world through the window. If you look at the world, okay, if you look at the sky through your windows, the vision of your sky is limited to what? To the boundary of the window, correct? If the frog in the well looks at the sky from the well, its understanding of the sky is limited to the boundary of the well. All knowing means what? The frog comes out of the well. You come out into the open and look at the sky. So, knowledge is not something. Jnana Yoga means the pure knowledge that reveals the true nature of everything. In that sense, you become all-knower. Individually, you can't know the instrument. It is not the instrumental knowledge. It is knowing in essence what everything is. That is all-knowing. Are you able to follow now? All-knowing and artha, it is knowing in essence what it is. What is the right knowledge? What is everything? Divine. Brahman only. Everything is, I am all-knowing. When you say I am all-knowing, it's not that you know the instruments of everything. You will say, I know. Everything is Brahman. That is all-knowing. Everything is God. Everything is Brahman is all-knowing. So in that sense, you will say, I know the past, present, and future. Meaning, in the past there was only Brahman. In the present also there is only Brahman. In the future also there is only Brahman. Therefore, Brahman alone is all-knowing. Wherever you conceive of anything, wherever you think of anything, wherever something is there, what is in it? What is it? Brahman. All-knowing. This is all-knowing. Because we have already seen that. The law, the material cause can never exist apart from the product. We have seen it as a law. If you remember, we studied it some time back. The material cause can never exist apart from the material cause can never exist apart from the product. What is the material cause for this Jagat? Brahman. So anything and everything that is happening is Brahman. So what is all-knowing? All-knowing not in knowing everything, all-knowing, understanding everything is Brahman. All-knowing everything is Brahman. This is Jnana Yoga. In order to hold on to this thought that all are Brahman, you need a calm mind. So karma and bhakti prepares the mind to stay put with jnanam. Otherwise, there will be a split. The jnanam in you will tell something, the action and feelings will drive you in another direction. Always a human being remains split. Therefore, the three yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. With this, we'll conclude for today and we'll continue the discussion on the three yogas next week. With this, we conclude.